Hello. Good start. Hello again, how are you doing? It's still Sunday afternoon. I've just been kicking something on the floor. I've just been ended up having to nip out to buy a few supplies for my animals. Getting a little bit low on food and want to pick up a couple of other bits for them, just for their cages and whatnot. And I nipped over to see my mum for a bit, and then I came back. But I'm now waiting on Anna because we're going to have a meeting about the wedding with someone. It's to do with the I think it's the DJ. We're going to just have a quick little meeting with him to discuss it a little bit, I guess. But she's not here yet, and I'm just sort of sitting around doing nothing. So I thought I'd use this opportunity to make a real, well, not necessarily a quick video, but another video. Something I've been thinking about for a little while. I've been thinking about for a little while about doing a couple of videos about heavier modifications and sort of heavy, like specific heavy mods and stuff. I'm planning on doing at some point just an overview of the little things I've got, the stuff I'd like to get further down the line, and I might do slightly more specific videos focusing on each of the heavier modifications I have, and maybe again talk a little bit about some of the things I want to do in a little bit more depth as well. But before I do all that, I was sort of thinking a little bit about what exactly do I consider to be heavy modifications, or where the line is where I consider to be heavy mods or a heavily modified person or what. And I kind of wondered, I figured I could sort of throw this out a little bit to other people who watch my channel and just ask you, what do you consider to be a heavily modified person, or where's the line that you consider a modification to suddenly be a heavy modification? Because it sort of falls into, like I say, it sort of falls into two categories for me. Like individual heavy modifications, like a specific modification, whether or not it's a heavy mod or I guess, like I say, an individual specific thing would be something like removing a finger. That in itself I would consider to be quite a specific heavy modification. But having said that, if literally that's all the person had done, literally just removed one single finger, I wouldn't consider that person necessarily to be a heavily modified person. And on the flip side, I don't necessarily consider individual piercings or tattoos, certainly not heavy modifications. However, if an individual has lots and lots of piercings and lots of stretched piercings everywhere, and are completely covered in tattoos, even without having any of the so-called heavier modifications, I would still consider that person to be a heavily modified person, just because of the amount and extent of work they've had done. Some of that is always going to depend very much on the individual as to what they consider to be heavily modified. I just kind of wondered what other people thought about that, and what they and like sort of what you guys watching, the people who often comment on my videos, what you would consider to be heavily modified. Like I never really consider myself, at least not yet, to be particularly heavily modified. I mean, yeah, I've got a fair few piercings and whatnot, and obviously stretched piercings. But I mean, I have a couple of individual heavier mods myself. Obviously I've got the belly button removed and the tongue split. But I don't necessarily consider myself yet to be heavily modified. I guess I'm getting to the point now where I feel like I'm starting to cross that borderline. Like if I were, like there's a couple of other things I want to get, for example. Like eventually I want to start stretching my nostrils. I hope to do that in the near future. And like I say I did then suddenly get some of my fingers on my toes or something like that removed. I think at that point I would then start to consider myself as being heavily modified. It's just interesting. Obviously different people are all going to have their own limits and boundaries as to what they consider to be heavily modified and the likes. And I'm just kind of curious to throw it out there and just ask like I said, I guess two questions. What do you consider to be a heavy modification? And at what point do you consider an individual to be a heavily modified person? Yeah, so I thought that was just a little interesting thought experiment there. So yeah, I'll say goodbye there and let you all think about it, and I hope I'll hear from a couple of you in the comments. Ta-ra for now. I'll speak to you all again soon during the week. See you later. Bye.